Bruins Beat is brought to you by PrizePicks.
And welcome into the Bruins Beat, presented by PrizePicks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $50 back when you play your first $5. And we're presented by CLNS Media. Make sure to go check out all our great content. Subscribe on the Bruins Ringside YouTube channel. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from, Apple, Spotify, Podbean. And then there's also lots of other great content. Patriots Press Pass, Celtics All Access. Make sure to go subscribe over there. I'm Evan Marinofsky, joined today by Bruins former 6th round pick, currently at Cornell, Ryan Walsh. Ryan, what is up?
How are you? I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So we were talking before we came on. Been a weird summer for you, right?
Yep, it has been. Got shoulder surgery right after the season, so definitely been an unconventional summer for me. I haven't skated since early April, really, and the things I usually do in the summer, I'm not doing. So no golf, no skating. So yeah, it's been a pretty low key summer. Just a lot of working out and PT. It's pretty much all I've been doing.
The skating is tough enough, but the no golf, that's where we draw the line.
Yeah. No golf is no fun. I'm a huge golfer. I love golfing. I try to go out 3, 4, 5 times a week. So the clubs have just been sitting in my garage collecting dust. So it's been pretty tough.
It's going to be a hell of a comeback. When that finally happens, whenever that's going to be. Do you so you're doing PT right now? Are you when do you plan on, like, when do you think you're going to be back on the ice?
Yeah, so I'll be back on the ice September 1st, and I'll be at school by then, and I'll be just out there by myself. So I won't start skating with the team for probably 3 weeks of me getting back on the ice. So just really simple edge work stuff, kind of start getting my conditioning back. Not too much shooting. So we'll still stick handling. Obviously, I'm gonna try and progress as fast as I can, but without risking hurting myself or having a setback. Also, we just switched from Bauer to CCM this year, so I'll be in all new gear. So I'll be coming off 6 months really of no skating and brand new gear. So I'm gonna look like a lost puppy on the ice that first time.
Is it new skates too?
Oh, it's new everything.
Oh.
Everything. Because obviously with the transition, we have everything new. So shin pads, elbow pads, chest protectors, skates, helmets, gloves, pants, sticks, everything is brand new. So I'll be breaking all of it in at once without having skated for months. So
that should be an adventure. We need to film that. We need to get that on film or something.
I know. I was thinking the live barn feed.
The live barn feed would be great. With skates, like I hated breaking in new skates because it takes a while. Even with the new technologies where they like mold it to your foot and everything, it still takes a long time. I imagine you don't go through that many skates, so this should be different. Or do you have new skates every year?
Yeah, so we have new skates every year, and a lot of guys will go through skates twice in a year. So a lot of guys will go like start of the season till Christmas on a pair. And then after they get back from Christmas, they'll have another pair for the back half of the season. So guys are going through 1-2 pairs of skates a year. I'm a 1 skate per year kind of guy. I don't like breaking it in at all. And I feel like that's the skates, with the technology nowadays, they, even at, college level, you can last more than 4 or 5 months in a pair. So I'm a one-time skate guy, but there are some guys that'll go through 2 or 3 pairs of skates in a year.
I always find that interesting when guys can do that, because that's a lot, and it feels like it takes a while. And then stick wise, like, people are obviously very particular about their sticks, and that obviously the really high end ones. Do you think you'll notice a difference going from, I assume, were you a Hyperlight guy with Bauer?
Yeah. So I was, I was, and then I was Sync as well. So I actually had the Tracer was my last stick, but I started off with Hyperlight, went to the Sync, and now the Tracer. So those are the ones I've been using. And I've used the Bauer stick my entire life. So I've never used a CCM stick. So I have no clue. I'm kind of scared for that. But I mean, I don't think that there's that big of a difference. I know that the curves and the blades aren't the same, but they have pretty close comparisons. So I think in that first couple weeks of me learning how to do everything again, I'll basically learn how to shoot again. So
Yeah,
I don't.
at least you're coming back off of a long time off. So it's like
Yeah,
you have new equipment and this. It's two things. Once you overcome that, it's like, oh man, this feels great.
I
I'm
know.
back to my former self again. When you were at Dev Camp, I know you were there. You were not obviously participating in on ice stuff, and I imagine you probably weren't doing too much off ice work. What did you do there? What were some of the experiences you had throughout those days?
Yeah, Dev Camp was definitely different this year than my previous 2 years. In ways, I thought it was cooler this year than in the previous. Kind of a day-to-day routine of I'd get there in the morning, I'd have breakfast, and then I would do an hour of PT while the guys were in the gym. And then I would do all the video sessions with the guys. So I do all the nutrition meetings, all the performance meetings, the sleep meetings, the media, all that I did
Sleep
with the
meetings?
guys. Yeah, so we one of the things that Boston does is that they bring in a lot of people to kind of talk about everything. So we have psychologists come in, nutritionists, obviously the athletic trainers, they do a lesson and they talk. One of the things that they focus on is sleep, just about temperature in the room, what to wear for covering your eyes for light blocking, when to turn off the phone, read a book, all these things that they tell you to do, temperature if you're bedding. Then they give you a bunch of suggestions on things that you could go out and get. So like I did all those meetings. And then I would do PT while the guys were working out. And then when they hopped on the ice, I would work out. So I didn't really spend too much time with the guys this year, but I spent a lot more time with the staff, which was kind of cool because I was able to connect so much more with all those guys. Because instead of being in a group of 25 guys all the time when we're working out, there's 3 or 4 athletic trainers in there and 25 guys. It's kind of hard to connect with the athletic trainers and the staff when you're in a big group. So when I would do PT and work out, it would be one-on-one, and I would just be there by myself. So I was able to really increase my connection with so many guys this year that I wasn't able to do in prior years. So I thought that aspect of it was really cool. But yeah, did PT every day, worked out every day by myself. I was down there, I had a follow-up appointment with the surgeon. So, because I got surgery in Boston. I
Mhm.
went through Boston to get it done. So it was good. It was a great week, and I really enjoyed it. Happy I went. And like I said, I made so many new connections that I wouldn't have if I was, participating in camp fully.
And didn't you get pranked to the Bruins on TikTok? Wasn't that
Uh,
was one of the things I saw that at the end? I got a kick out of that. They had a couple of
yeah.
you guys go up to the concourse to get pranked. For those who don't know, I actually just looked it up while you were talking. Got like 43,000 likes, which has to be cool. A lot of views. Very awkward. Very, very awkward. You were not awkward,
Oh.
but the situation must have been incredibly awkward. How do you like?
Oh.
Because fans are part of the job. They obviously are professionals at this, so that's a little bit different. But what were you thinking in that? Like, were you like, what? This is so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. That it was funny. Because what I was told, I had just gotten back from an appointment, and I was told like one of the media staff, she's like, "Oh, there's a couple super fans upstairs who want like a photo and an autograph." And at these kind of things, that's a very common thing to be signing
It is.
autographs and taking photos and stuff like that. I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool." And I go up to the concourse, and there's like cameras on me, and I'm standing there, kind of away from the 2 girls who ended up doing this. And like you said, it's part of the job, like fan interaction and meetings, and the worst thing that you could do is be disrespectful or laugh or any of these things, because especially with how social media is today, obviously things can get really bad. So you're trying to be just supportive and as up and supportive and upbringing as possible. And yeah, I'm watching this dance, and I didn't know what to think. I don't know what to say. So I'm just like, I was trying to be supportive, and there's a couple things that they did that the camera that they edited out or whatever for the TikTok, and like their lock screen on their phones was me. I took a photo of just them, and then I took a photo with them, and then after I took the photo with them, they like sprinted away. It was really weird. And I get back behind, like back to like where the Bruins are, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that was a prank." I go, "That was crazy," because I'm like, I'm trying to be respectful. And like you said, that got 45,000 likes. I don't even know what it's at view-wise, but the last time I checked, it was like 500,000 or something. So I got a lot of texts about that TikTok. And at least it wasn't just me. They got Will Zellers, and then all the BC guys. So, but yeah, I got a lot of texts for that.
That's awesome. I remember seeing that, and yeah, I don't know how you kept like straight face throughout it all. That is incredible discipline. That is levels of discipline I don't think many people have, to be able to keep a straight face through that. And you must have been like, what? Like I'm in the wrong. I think the wrong team picked me. These are some weird. Bruins fans are crazy, but this is a little much. But they did a good job. And credit to them. They kept their like commitment to the bid. Oh my god!
Like complete credit to them, because I was thinking like if I did that, if I was in like their shoes doing this to someone else, I could not keep a straight face.
No.
They didn't laugh once. They did awesome. And I know that they do this a lot, but man, they did a great job. And they made it so believable, where I was kind of like, all right, what is this? But I wasn't like, okay, this is a prank. That they did an amazing job. And yeah.
Props to them.
They got me good. Yeah, props to them. Props to them for sure.
So you get picked by the Bruins in your third year of eligibility, right?
Yep.
Were you expecting to be picked? I know like some kids, at least the ones I've talked to around here, when it's after their first year, like there was a kid who got picked this year. It was after his first year, and he didn't really have a party for it. Didn't really watch the draft, just kind of had it on in the background. What was draft day like for you? What were sort of your expectations going into it 2 years ago?
Yeah, I didn't have a draft party, and I wasn't sure. Obviously I had a good year in the USHL, and I talked to a bunch of teams, but I didn't have really any definites where like, yeah, we're going to take it, or yeah. So I thought it was like a 50-50. I didn't have a draft party. I didn't really have anyone at my house for it. It was on in the background. I was watching a couple of my buddies who got drafted earlier, and I got a text. So my advisor, he was at the draft, and he texted me before, because there's a delay for the TV or whatever, and he texted me saying, like, you just got drafted by Boston, congratulations. So then I went over and was in front of the TV, and it was maybe like 5-10 seconds before the pick. So my family was all home, so they were all able to be there when I got picked. And my dad has it all on video, so he had a tripod set up, and so it was cool. It was I wasn't really expecting to get drafted though. I knew I had a couple of teams say that that they would invite me to their development camp, and if I wasn't picked or whatever. So I knew I would be going to a development camp in the next couple of days. Obviously, the draft, and then development camp's like 2 days later, a day later. And so I knew I would have been leaving for somewhere, but I didn't know when. So I knew I was going to a development camp, but I did not think I was going to get picked. So yeah, it was cool. It was cool. It was unexpected. So,
well, it's interesting because you had that 79-point year at Cedar Rapids. You were second only to Macklin Celebrini, which that's an awesome thing you can always say. It's like, it's first in the USHL if you don't count Macklin Celebrini in points in 2022-23. But from talking to teams, I know sometimes teams are a little hesitant with third-year eligible guys or even second-year eligible guys at times. And I can imagine for you the past 2 years, it's like, all right, well, I didn't get picked either of those years. Maybe nothing's changed, maybe, whatever. But Was there a part of you that I know you said you weren't fully expecting it, but I mean, there has to have been a part of you, and from talking to teams, where you're like, I'm pretty sure I should get picked, or was that not the case?
Yeah, kind of. If I thought I was gonna get picked by a team, it would have actually been Boston. I talked to them by far the most. So I was I was hoping to get drafted, obviously. And I was kind of expecting if it was gonna happen, there was like two or three teams that I talked to a lot, and they all had picks kind of in the same area. They each had a couple picks all within kind of right around where I was drafted, like 150 to like 190 range. They all had a lot of picks. So that's kind of where I'm like, if I'm gonna go, I'll probably go in this range. So I wasn't sure though, because like you said, no team's gonna go out and just say, yeah, you're gonna get drafted. And it's like I'm a third year eligible guy. So that in itself doesn't help. I mean, if you look at the percentage of the draft who's like first year, second year, third year guys are probably like, I don't really know what the percentage is, but it's got to be below 10% of the draft.
It's low.
Third year.
It's very low.
Yeah, it's very low. So I'm like, well, there is some, positives to not being an undrafted guy as well. So I was kind of just going along with the ride. I'm like, well, I would absolutely love to get drafted. It would be so cool. I would want to be a part of an organization. But I'm like, well, if I, don't get drafted, I'll still be able to go to a development camp. And, it's not, life or death right there. So I was hopeful to get drafted, and I'm like, well, it'd be cool if I do, but not the end of the world if I don't.
PrizePicks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. PrizePicks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. The app is so easy to use to create a lineup. All you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your money. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus because it's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday each Tuesday. PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. I can't say it enough. With the Red Sox, I know they got a tough stretch coming up, but I like the hits, RBI, lines over there at PrizePicks. Pick more or less on those. I like those. They have some hot hitters. Cedar Rapids has been hot. Alex Bregman coming back from injury. He's been great. So go do that. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. It's interesting how teams view the draft, because to me, the draft, I've always felt teams view it in the sense of projections. It's not so much, someone's really good right now. It's what they're going to be in the future. And I'm wondering how closely did teams talk to you in your first 2 years of eligibility? You were at Salisbury both those years too, right?
Yeah. So I talked to, when I was at Salisbury, I had talked to two teams, and very briefly, like, they introduced themselves. I got sent a questionnaire, and that was really it. I think it was like Vancouver and Montreal were the two teams, and I got sent like two questionnaires, and that was it. I didn't really hear anything back about anything. So for the first 2 years, I'm like, well, I wasn't ranked on anything, so I'm like, I was not expecting to at all. So the first 2 years was pretty much nothing, and then obviously. The year in the USHL definitely helped. So then I talked to a bunch of teams, and like I said, I was 50-50 on whether I would at the time of the draft.
You broke out in the CHL. Excuse me, not the CHL. You broke out in the CHL. You broke out in Cedar Rapids in the USHL. Obviously, as I said, 79 points. And you had two really good years at Salisbury prior to that. But what do you think, what changed? Oftentimes, as you know, kids go from prep to the USHL and they struggle. What clicked for you there? What changed when you went to Cedar Rapids?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I wish I had like a definite answer. I loved I loved Salisbury, but I loved Cedar Rapids, and um I my line mates in Cedar Rapids were awesome. Dylan Ritzkovian, who I was actually at Salisbury with my senior
That's
year.
right. That's right.
Yes. So he did a PG year there because his older brother Justin went there. So he did one PG year before going to Cedar Rapids as well. So I think that was a big, portion of it was I had really good chemistry with Dylan already. And at Salisbury we built up a lot of chemistry, but like at the start there wasn't any. So going into Cedar Rapids, like I had full chemistry with him right away. And then, Zachariah Wisdom, he was awesome. He, Seattle pick. And yeah, I don't know. Things just clicked. Things clicked. We had a very good power play. We had Eric Polkamp running the point, and I I was able to just give him the puck a lot of times, and he would find the back of that because he's got a shot on him. But yeah, I wish I had a good answer for what kind of clicked.
Well, what's funny is like it's a change in lifestyle because you graduated
Yeah.
Salisbury. So
Yep.
you were done with school pretty much for the time being. So I'm assuming,
Yeah.
did you take any classes at Cedar Rapids? So it was
No,
just
I
all
didn't take
hockey.
anything. All hockey. So that's a good point. That could definitely have been a big part of it is, when you're at school, there's a lot of other things you have to be worried about. Grades, finals, tests, homework, all that fun things. But like you said, in Cedar Rapids, it's just hockey. So, you could go in whenever you wanted, work out. Obviously, we had practices and stuff, but yeah, your whole life's hockey, in juniors. And I think that definitely, was a factor because I was able to put all my time and energy into hockey, which I think really helped as well. And, obviously I'm back at college, but pro's the same way as, the USHL where it's all hockey. So who
Yeah.
knows? I'm excited for pro.
Yeah. And Cornell is definitely a hard school. That's not a school that you can skate by with academics. You're in the business school there, right?
Yep. So we have two business schools. One's the hotel school, and then I'm in the SC Johnson School of Business, which is like applied economics and management. So yeah, I'm in the business school there, and I'm taking finance. So one of the harder concentrations in in Dyson, and it's certainly not easy, but I'm fortunate enough to take all my classes with two other kids in my team. They're both rising juniors, and we take every single class together. So that definitely helps. I'm never alone. I'm always with those two guys, Luke Devlin and George Figueres. So it definitely makes school a lot easier, able to, for all group projects, homework, all these kind of things, we're able to kind of bounce ideas off each other. So that definitely makes it more manageable, but it's no cakewalk. It's a lot of work.
How do you manage that? That's a lot. I mean, you're at an Ivy League school. That's a hard program. It's a hard major no matter where you are.
Yeah.
How do you manage that with hockey?
Yeah, it's a lot of time management. That's the biggest thing that I think it's taught me is time management. A big thing is like staying ahead of your work. There's a lot of times you'll have a break, like say you have an hour in between classes, like instead of just, scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or whatever, like you gotta get, yeah, right. You gotta get things done. So I'm always trying to stay ahead. I try to do as much work throughout the day as I can because a lot of the days, we're not getting home from the rink and lift till 8 p.m. because, go get food or whatever after. So, it's never a fun time when you have a full day of classes and then 3-4 hours of working out, and then you got to sit down and do 2 more hours of homework. So really trying to get work done early throughout the day. Sundays are big. A lot of boys will just sit around. We'll have 8 guys in our living room at our house watching, football on Sundays and just doing homework. So it's really utilizing the time that you have and not falling behind. Because if you fall behind, not good things happen. You kind of ruin the relationship with the teacher. That's a big thing, is, trying to be as respectful to the teacher, try and get all your work done as much as possible, be really transparent, because, unfortunately we do miss a lot of time in the classroom, especially, away weekends and playoffs and stuff like that. I think playoffs, we almost missed 3 weeks in a row. I think we go to school like 3 or 4 days in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So really trying to be as transparent as possible, and respectful to the teachers, and time management. That's kind of how you survive school.
It can be tough. It can be tough. And then on the ice, like, one thing that I'm interested in and I've been kind of tracking is you see more and more kids. You and I have talked about this a lot, the CHL ruling and how it's changing the whole landscape. But one area it's really changed is college hockey itself.
Yeah.
And it projects change, whether it be Gavin McKenna or like a Roger McQueen going to Providence this upcoming year. College hockey was already strong the last bunch of years, high-end prospects everywhere, really good teams.
Yeah.
And then you have teams like Western Michigan who are older, and that makes them really good and harder to play against. How do you see college hockey as a development league for pro? Like, how have you, you've obviously experienced 2 years of it at Cornell. How have you seen it, and where do you see it sort of going in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, as much as the CHL now makes recruiting a lot more difficult, for younger guys, it also makes college hockey way more difficult. And, when you play teams like you said, Western Michigan, or you play teams like Penn State, who now have, like you said, Gavin McKenna or Roger McQueen going to Providence, like, you're going to play against NHL guys. Like, those guys are all going to play in the NHL. They're top 10 picks. Obviously, Gavin McKenna's a first overall projected. And, you're playing against these guys who are going to be the face of the NHL in 5-10 years. And, being given the opportunity to play them is development in itself. That was one of the things I thought was cool about the USHL. Like you said, Macklin Celebrini, he played in the USHL, the same year I did, and Chicago and Cedar Rapids were close. I think we played them like 8 times or something. So, being able to see kind of what it takes to be an NHL player, like looking at him play, or, we played BU my freshman year, who had Lane Hudson and Celebrini on it. And like watching those two guys, playing against them, A, I make myself better, but B, I'm also like, okay, this is what it takes, to get to the NHL. These are the guys who are going to, be full-time, lifetime NHLers. So I think you're kind of exposed more to what it takes to become an NHL player. Also, what I really like about college hockey as well, and I think a lot of it is the ECAC more, is it teaches you so much more defensive hockey than just offensive. A lot of our games are low scoring games, 2-1, 3-2, stuff like that. Where you'll see other games in other, like the Big Ten or Hockey East, and they're like 5-6 or like 7-5, and it's like you don't ever see that in the ECAC. And I think that was a big reason why I chose Cedar Rapids, because I was signed at Chilliwack before Cedar Rapids. So that was one of the reasons why I kind of chose Cedar Rapids, was because Mark Carlson, he would rather lose a game 1-0 than win a game 6-5, because we let in 5 goals, and he is such a defensive minded, like low scoring, really solid defensively before you go to offense, which is exactly how Mike Schaefer was. He low scoring games. It's all about, defense. I think Cornell, at least for the past like 5 years, has been the team who's gotten scored on the least amount in all of college hockey. And,
it's always that way.
It's always that way. And he would always take pride in not letting in goals. And, realistically, I'm not going to, if I do make the NHL, it'll be a 3rd, 4th line spot where my goal is to play good defense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think college hockey, and especially the ECAC, teaches you to be a full 200-foot player where defense matters. So that part I think about college hockey compared to like the OHL, I think is huge because same with like, some of the leagues in college hockey, the OHL, you're seeing guys have 200 points a season or 150 points in a season. It's like, that's just not obtainable in college hockey. Granted, they play more games, whatever, but those scores are 8-5, and you just don't see that in college hockey. And for a player like me, I think that that's very valuable because that is how I'm going to have to play in pro hockey, is be a solid 200-foot player, very good and defensively sound, win face-offs in the D zone, PK, stuff like that. So I think in that aspect, college has developed me at least and many other guys to kind of fit those roles in pro hockey.
That's an interesting perspective on that, to understand that you have essentially for the last 5 years been molded into being a, responsible 200-foot forward. And I think realizing that's what at least you want to and kind of have to be at the next level, and how the ECAC is pointing you in that direction. And I think that's a very valuable thing and kind of perspective to have. And one thing that you and I have talked about quite a bit, be in the locker room or wherever, is, guys jumping early, guys leaving places early, but be it, for junior, from prep, or from junior to college, or college to pro. And you've done 2 years at Cornell now, and they've been really solid ones. I think you can still play 2 more years at Cornell before like Boston sells your rights, correct?
I think so.
I think it's 4 years. Don't quote me on that, even though it's
don't
quote me on that. I believe it's
my advisors explained it a couple times. I still don't even know.
Yeah, it's complicated. I believe it's 4 from when you're drafted.
I think I do get the full 4 years.
Yeah.
But I think there's a thing where it's like, if you wanted after 3 years, you could unenroll in school on August 15th or something. I don't know. But yes, I have 2 more years with Boston.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, what your perspective is on turning pro. And obviously you're going back to Cornell, so you're not there yet. But do you know, like, what you're hoping to get out of college before you'll know when to go? Or like how you'll feel before you know when to go? Or have you not crossed that bridge yet?
Yeah. I haven't really crossed that bridge yet, but the biggest thing is I don't want to leave early. Like not like leave early, but in the sense where like I don't want to turn pro before I'm ready to turn pro. Because like I said, I think there's so much value in college hockey, and I've never rushed into college early or juniors early. Like I said, I repeated a year at high school. I really just don't want to rush it. I haven't really thought too much about pro hockey yet, obviously. Just more focused on this upcoming year with my shoulder. Just would love a healthy season is kind of all I'm really hoping for right now. And if the puzzle falls into pieces, or the pieces fall into the puzzle, I don't know, whatever that saying is, I would, but I'm certainly not going to rush it. I'm really looking forward to this season. I think we have a really good team, so really just focusing on a healthy year before I have any thoughts about pro hockey.
You seem like someone who keeps up with what other you're observant. You see what other teams are doing. You see what other players have done. Is that something that you've, like, over your years in hockey from 14U up, do you keep mental notes of, you'll see a kid maybe leave early for somewhere and you see what happens there, or like you see what someone else does and you kind of keep tabs on how they're doing and how you can apply it to your own career? Is that something that you think you do quite a bit of?
Yes and no.
Not to say copy, but I mean just like seeing what other people are doing and reacting.
Yeah, I've definitely seen guys who have left way too early for things and it just hasn't worked out. And they're always like, oh, I wish I didn't. So like learning from those guys, 100%, because I don't want to be in that situation. I know guys who they left early from college, don't have a college degree, and now they're done playing hockey. And it's like, well, they played 2 years they played a couple AHL games, played 2 years in the coast, and then, retired. And it's like, that's not what I want, right? I see guys leave early all the time without a degree. And I'm like, well, that's just, why would you go to college if you're not going to get your degree? You know what I mean? So that's one thing, because school has always been a really important thing for me. I want to get my degree. That I really want to do, and I'm going to. So yeah, learning from guys like that and not rushing, because I've seen it happen way too much, and I know you have too. Guys rush into things and it doesn't work out, and they wish, because realistically, I have nothing but time. I'm 21 years old. I still have a long career ahead of me, and I don't want to have to rush into pro hockey and not be ready. I really want to take my time, get it right the first time, and make sure that I'm ready before, make any decisions.
That's a really mature outlook.
Yeah,
that's like a very, and you don't hear that often. That you don't hear that very often from younger guys, and I think one thing you hear from older guys often is, man, I wish,
yeah.
Especially with preps, like with prep school, guys leave early, and I hear from players quite a bit who are like, I wish I stayed that extra year,
Right.
or I wish I stayed I did another year in junior. And now you're seeing with college where like kids are leaving junior, or kids are staying in junior next year because it's like, I'd rather go to junior or stay there, play a ton, be in a bunch of roles, be a leader, just play a lot, in comparison to, I don't want to go in as a college freshman and be scratched on Friday and Saturday night. And I think that's translatable through prep, junior, college, and pro too, where it's like, realistically, you could turn pro, but what's that gonna equate to at this level without your degree or things like that? And I think that's a very mature way, I think, to look at it.
Yeah, and like you said, you see guys go and say, I wish, or like you see guys who are in USHL and they have their college says, yeah, you can come in if you want, or you can go back to USHL. They go into college, and then after a semester, they go back to the USHL. Like, you see that all the time. Like, I know kids who've done it. And then it's like, what? Like, you should just reversed it. Did it one more year in the USHL, fully developed, because there's benefits to each stage, of juniors, college, prep school. Like, the 2 years at prep school was awesome. I'm so happy I did 2 years instead of one. The USHL, I only did one, but I felt like I was ready to move on. I don't think doing 1 year of prep school and not getting the full development that you can out of prep school, doing 1 year in the USHL and then say you don't have your full development for the USHL, when you're like, I could go back and develop more, or I could try and, go to a higher level. Like, I think going back to USHL is so valuable, because getting the it's a building blocks, right? You hear that all the time, and, you have to fully develop the block below before you're able to go to the next block. So you see guys who only develop half a block, and then they try to jump to the next block, and it doesn't work out. And I think taking it slower rather than faster is so much more valuable. And, like I said, I've done that my whole career, and I'm going to continue doing that.
Well, that's a hell of an outlook. That's a hell of an outlook. There's a lot of people, I think, who could benefit from hearing that. I think we've touched on everything. We've done everything today. We've done the gauntlet of hockey development, and you and Cornell, and I think you and I could go a lot longer, but I think we'll probably save that for another day. Well, Ryan, thank you for doing this, and I really hope your recovery goes well. Hopefully, when you get back on the ice, only takes a little bit. Doesn't take too long to not feel like a fish out of water, which will be good.
Yeah.
So get better, and that's Bruins Beat. That's Ryan Walsh. I'm Evan Marinofsky. You Bruins Beat listeners, have a great rest of your week.